Dear viewers, welcome to this episode of Expert Speaks. Many of you people are afraid of going to a financial planner because you think financial planners have their own plan. They may not advise you in your best interest. But I know of hundreds of financial planners who are spread across length and breadth of this country, who are doing a yeoman service, and their service is well appreciated by the general public, and they have no dearth of business. People keep coming to them again and again. In this episode, I'm going to introduce one such very fine gentleman who has done a commendable job in the financial planning industry, Mr. Sundararajan from Chennai. Stay till the end of the video. The wisdom that he shares with you is something which makes you sit and think for the second time, should we really need a financial planner or not? How the subtle differences he makes in the life of his clients. This is NRI Money Clinic for you, and I am Dr. Chandrakant, but your financial guide for a happy living.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
Dear viewers, to talk about how people make mistakes when they handle money and how money can make your thinking go cloudy, we have an expert on channel today, Mr. Sundararajan. Mr. Sundararajan is in Chennai. He is co-founder of a company called Symphonia Wealth Private Limited, which is in the distribution of mutual funds of India. Mr. Sundararajan has a very rich experience of working for more than 21 years. He has worked in companies like Sharekhan. He has worked with companies like RBS. Education qualification wise, he is a certified financial planner. He has wealth management certificate from University of Sydney. He is a postgraduate diploma of management in finance and several other certifications to his credit. A very popular person in the Tamil crowd, particularly in Chennai. He has conducted hundreds of investor education programs. A person who goes to him for an help in investing money would never get a chance to see one another financial planner. An affable, lovable, a person who is highly respected, Mr. Sundararajan, to share your thoughts here. Welcome to this episode, Mr. Sundararajan.
Thank you for having me in this show, sir. And I will try my best to share my thoughts with whatever I have been practicing, and very happy to be here.
Sundar, I'll call you Sundar. I'll not call you Sundararajan for ease of addressing you. You have thousands of clients. You have got clients from NRI community. You have got clients from Singapore, Malaysia, various other places. You handle humongous amount of money for your clients. One thing which always baffles me is why there is only one Warren Buffett. Why very few people succeed in creating wealth. There is no dearth of knowledge. See, when I started, there was no information. So we had to search through the newspaper, then the company balance sheets and etc. From that zone, now we have come to a period of wealth or the information overload. There is ample information which is available. But comes to the question of success in money management, the ratio has not improved. Today, in fact, more people are failing than they are succeeding. There are fintech companies which say you save money, you save expenses, you have direct funds, you have got the regular fund. Information is abundant. In spite of that, people still make mistakes. There is something fundamentally wrong with the way people handle money. Why people make this money? If fintech companies were to be correct, or if everything that is put on the Google or television channel were to be the correct, and if money has behaved like science, then everybody should have replicated that success without exception. But that's not happening. Why? What makes money handling something different? Has it some kind of a behavioral aberration which happens?
You're absolutely right, sir. So as you rightly said, we are in an age of extreme information. But the point here is, when it comes to investing, there are two very important aspects. One is the scientific aspect of it. That's where most of the time is being spent by every investor. So as you rightly said, every information is today available to almost everyone. Earlier, as you rightly said, getting information itself was a big task. But today, information is available to all. But the second aspect, which is the most important aspect when it comes to investing and the less spoken, is about the behavior towards your investments. Why I'm telling you that is because science is very predefined. So, for example, science is to do with all guided laws. So max is also something to do with guided laws. So if I ask you 2 plus 2, the answer has to be 4. It cannot be anything else, because for every input, the output is pre-decided. When it comes to investing, there are a lot of numbers, but it is not only the numbers, it is also beyond. That's why investing is not about science, it is also to do with art. Why they say it is because the moment you start making money, the moment you start investing money, there are many factors into it, apart from the science and the math behind it. So there is a very interesting book by the name of Psychology of Money. I think most of you would have heard about it, but that one book can actually change a lot of aspect when it comes to the other part of investing, which is the behavioral aspect. So I will try and explain you with a very simple story which is narrated in that book. So there was a very young gentleman who was a tech entrepreneur, okay, who had a lot of patents on the Wi-Fi and the routers. He was in US. So he was minting tons and tons of money because he had a lot of patents on the Wi-Fi and the routers. So he was actually making a lot of money. But as the money started coming in, he was also getting very arrogant in the way in which he was managing money. So he had a very nice set of friends where they used to meet every evening in a hotel. In the hotel, every time they go and meet for the evening, they actually used to do many things which were actually showing their arrogance. So in one of the instances, what he did was actually he went and hit one of the lamps which was on the hotel, and the lamp fell, and there was a breakage. So one of the hotel staff approached him and said that, sir, you have actually broken the lamp and you will have to pay $100. So he got very furious and said, you know who I am? I am the richest person or one of the biggest person. You did not even understand that. Keep this $1,000 with you. Even whatever I am going to break in the future, you just keep it for it. Do not even come and ask for money with me. So that's the kind of attitude he had. And he kept doing this for years together, and eventually he actually became bankrupt. Because making money is one aspect, keeping that money is another aspect. So that's where behavior comes very, very important when it comes to making money as well as creating wealth. So that's the precise difference what we have today in terms of the behavior.
There are countless examples which are available to narrate this story. We have the stories of film actors who make tons of money, and at the end of the life, they have nothing. You have got the sports persons. There is no dearth of money and they suddenly became bankrupt. You have heard the story of Michael Jackson. So there is something which makes people act funny, deviate from the scientific principles, and create that pitfall which will not make them keep that money or remain wealthy forever. One question many a times which haunts me is, does luck have any role to play in someone's life? Is somebody wealthy just because of luck, or his efforts are also part and parcel of the wealth that he creates? What observations you have made?
So very interesting question what you asked, sir. So everyone who makes money is making money out of two very important things. One is the hard work, the other is the luck. But most of us don't want to admit it, and we also cannot quantify the luck factor. But the point is we need to stay humble, because every time you do things, because everyone in this world tries keep working hard and tries to do everything right. But in spite of that, not everyone becomes rich or everyone does not become successful. The reason behind is there is an unknown factor which is called luck. As I told you earlier, it is very difficult to quantify, but we need to be humble enough to accept that luck plays a very important role. Let me explain this with a very important person who is Bill Gates, who is known to all of us, one of the biggest tech entrepreneurs and one of the richest person in the world. So when he was in the age of 13, it was in the year 1968. He was studying in a school called Lakeside in US. It was in the Seattle state. During that point of time, the school was very, very important in his life, because in 1968, that school had a computer. So during that time, even biggest of the governments did not have a computer, but this school was very fortunate enough to have a computer, because the person who was running the school was a Navy personnel. And the moment he got out of Navy, he thought he should build a school, and he was actually very futuristic, and he thought the school in which he is running should definitely have a computer, because he somewhere believed that computers is going to rule the world. So that's where he got into the school. But let's try and understand the math behind how it happened. So during the 1968, across the world, there were about 30 crore high school going students. And within US, there were about almost 1.8 crore high school going students. But in the Lakeside school, there were only about 300, and Bill Gates was fortunate enough to be among the 300. So now, if he was not part of Lakeside School, maybe Microsoft wouldn't have been born. In fact, Bill Gates was so humble enough to accept in many of his interviews saying that if Lakeside was not there, Microsoft wouldn't have born. So how do you explain this? Is it the hard work or is it the luck? Of course, it's a combination of both, because only with luck you can't become so big, and even if you become so big, you will not be retaining that position. So we need to be humble enough to understand that luck definitely plays a role, but it is very difficult to quantify.
One another way of looking at it is, it's the right man at the right spot. There are countless examples. Take the case of Dr. Varghese Kurian of Amul. So he is a perfect man at a perfect situation where the dairy farmers were not well organized. He came with his idea, and they is a great communicator and a great engineer, and he persuaded everybody, the farmers as well as the government, to bring the cooperative, which changed the landscape. Today, India is the world's biggest producer of milk, and that revolution started with Dr. Varghese Kurian. Take the case of Narayan Murthy. Again, the right man at the right spot. I won't say that there are no more Narayan Murthys that are there in India. That's why the Infosys was born. But he was there. He had the right temperament, the hard work, and the situation of the day. It helped him. So you look at a lot of cases, many times Mark Zuckerberg could be one another person who came at the right time and he revolutionized. So we can't take odd example. Why we have to be very mindful of the role of luck in anyone's success financially is, in some cases it just happens. But you can't create or mass produce that idea to woo others or to inspire others. See, for example, now people say FIRE movement, financial independence and retirement early. Everybody thinks that everybody can become a Mark Zuckerberg. Everybody can have millions. Everybody can have trade and be rich, which is not true. So people get carried away by the wrong examples, take one odd case and generalize it and say everybody can do it. And when everybody follows it, that is where the disaster happens. So people have to understand that if it has to happen with everyone, then it should follow a particular method. You can't take the odd examples and say that everybody will become a film star, everybody will become a Virat Kohli, everybody will become a Zuckerberg. That will not happen. That takes me to another question. I have seen in the lives of a lot of people, they work with small salaries, but they lead a very disciplined life. They save. They could be putting money in an FD, or they could be putting in an SIP, whatever it is, within their limited knowledge, but they live a life which is disciplined. They live within their means, and they lead a happy life. You cannot compare them with the palace somebody owns. You cannot compare with the car what they have. But if I have to put them on an index which creates happiness or respect in the society, these guys who have lesser salaries or lesser income still lead a very good life. Whereas I know of a lot of people who have got hell of a lot of salaries, but they are big cabbage inside. Their financial life is nothing to boast of. They are having liabilities all over. They have a family problem. There is a dispute between husband and wife, craving in the family, all kinds of a thing. So the wealth people create, in my personal opinion, has nothing to do with how much he earns or how much he saves. There is something which is more than this. Or to say, earning money and retaining that money or becoming rich and staying rich are two different things. Do you have any opinion around it, or have you observed any cases in that particular line?
Yeah, very true, sir. So when it comes to earning money, I think that definitely requires a different skill set, because as you are in the process of earning money and when you are in the process of investing money, you definitely need to be a little more risk tolerant in terms of taking risks so that your money can grow. But the moment you actually create an empire out of it, after that, somewhere your mindset should not be the same, because you should become a lot more humble. In fact, you should be a lot more in terms of protecting your wealth, what you have created. That's a very important aspect. So again, a very interesting example I will just bring in. There were two individuals, one by the name of Ronald and one by the name of Richard. So let me narrate the story of Richard first. Richard was a very, he was from the financial background. So he was one of the most successful CEOs of Merrill Lynch. He actually retired at the age of 40, and he was very, very successful. He made a lot of money. But after he got retired, he had all the right things when it comes to financial knowledge. But eventually, some of the steps what he took over the period of his retirement, he eventually took a lot of leverage. He actually went and bought some of the biggest houses, and eventually he was unable to actually even maintain his lifestyle because he had over leveraged, and because when the global financial crisis came, he was in a terrible shape, and eventually he had to sell his house, and eventually he was bankrupt. So generally we think having knowledge actually makes you a better investor, which is true in most of the professions. For you to be a very successful lawyer, you need to be highly knowledgeable. For you to be a very good doctor or a very successful doctor, you definitely need to be, in terms of your academics, in terms of your profession, in terms of your practice, the more you do, the better you become. But when it comes to investing, we need to understand it is the other way. So let me explain that with another example, which is Ronald. So he was a very humble person. He did not have a lot of education. He actually started working at the age of 17. In fact, he was working in a petrol pump station where he was actually doing all the petty things, and he was actually getting a very small salary. But as you rightly said in your question, he was extremely disciplined when it comes to managing his money. So whatever income he earned, irrespective of the income, he set aside one part of the income towards his long term, and he just kept on investing. Right from the age of 20, 25, he just started doing. And by the time he actually was 92, till then he was actually unknown in the world. But at the age of 92, when he passed away, then the whole world got to know there was somebody like Ronald. Because when he actually died, he had left out a will, and the total value of the will was about $8 million, which in Indian terms, it is almost about 64, 65 crores in today's value. So somebody who did not make so much of money, somebody who did not have too much of financial knowledge actually created so much of wealth. And out of that wealth, he actually set aside 6 crore towards his own area where he was living, to the library and to the hospital, and 2 million to his family. So that's when the whole world got to know this person. What did he do right was nothing but extremely disciplined, kept saving, and allowed the money to grow for the next 40, 50 years. That's how this compounding happened. So the point here is, as you rightly said, without discipline, whether it is investment or in any field, I think, and more importantly, being disciplined and being consistent, I think these are very two things which cannot be substituted by anything else. And these things can actually create wonders over a long period of time.
It's very odd that to be successful in money management, you have to be many a times a dullard. You have to act with common sense and not with knowledge. Most of the places, what is negative is a positive here. For example, if you forget something somewhere, it's a negative. But you invest and forget, it's a positive. Elsewhere, you put small amounts of money, it doesn't interest you. You come here, put small amounts of money, be regular, think that it's a donation that you are given, and over a longer period of time, it will come back and surprise you. So to be successful in money management or creating wealth, what is required is abundant common sense. Everybody has that required common sense. There's no dearth of common sense. The problem is money creates emotions, and emotions and common sense will not stay at one place. When you're overpowered by emotions, be it emotions of fear or greed, that's when the common sense takes the back seat. We all get moved when our friend earns lots of money, when he has bought a stock and it becomes a multi-bagger, and then we also want to latch onto it. We'll forget that its time is over. So we are holding on to it when the fashion is ending. And we are not prepared to do that thing what the friend has done. He has done his research, he has invested in this long back, and it's the period of so many years of forgetting where he has invested, and it just bloomed, and he become he also has luck to his credit. But equally true is that forgetful nature or a deliberate forgetfulness or living that as it is, which works wonders for them. See, today's arguments many a times revolves around financial freedom. You open any financial newspapers or whatever it is, the hot topic or the hot searched item is financial freedom. People do not know what is financial freedom. What is that you have to tell my audience about financial freedom?
Now, again, a very pertinent question. And as you rightly said, today's the younger generation actually wants to work on this formula of FIRE, financially independent and retire early. I think this is catching up momentum, and a lot of investors, especially the young generation, wants to do it. But even before getting there, I think we need to understand what is financial freedom. So there is a very well defined thing which I have gone through in a book, which says financial freedom is the ability to do what you want to do, and with how long you want to do, and with whom you want to do. So that is the kind of definition you need to do. So financial freedom is nothing but you need not work for making money. So the moment you reach a place where you need not work for making money or for your survival, I think that is financial freedom. After that, you continue working, but the idea is to practice or continue giving your service to the world. But the idea is not to make money. So if you actually go into that situation, I think that's the best place to be in. And most of us, what we do in terms of making money is actually we trade time with money. So every time I clock in 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours in my work, that's when I get paid. So if I get paid, what I'm actually losing is the time. And if you can actually have time under your control, I think that's the biggest advantage or the dividend which you can get out of money. But every time, what generally people do is every time I make money, I try and keep creating a lot of things, especially the purchases what we make. It could be in terms of buying a house, it could be buying a car or anything. Every time you do that, you are actually putting your money into a product. So which means you are again trading off your money against a product and you're not buying time. So if you just understand that every money what you make is not for purchasing something. Of course, you need to purchase certain things to make your life comfortable. There is no denier. But there is no end in terms of purchasing. And the best part of the advertising world is every product looks important to us. That's their success. And every time it is advertised, we think this product is a must in my house. So if I keep buying, which means every time I buy, my bank balance actually reduces. So if you buy a 25 lakh worth of car, 25 lakh worth of money is actually reduced from your assets. So this is one thing we need to understand, and we need to be very cautious that you're trading time for making that money. But after making money, if you keep again putting that money or reducing that money, you are again going to be that vicious circle of earning money and spending money. Then you will never create wealth. So for you to understand this financial freedom, you need to understand the objective that your time should be under your control. I think if this is understood, I think most of us can actually lead a much more better life than trying to create a lot of money.
Dear viewers, Mr. Sundar is a practicing financial planner. He has built a practice which is so successful, people literally worship him for the advice that he tenders. The way he handles his clients during the tough times, during the market crash, and calming down the customers when they try to take the wrong decision is unparalleled. If you are somewhere around Chennai, in fact, you can reach to him from any corner of the world. He is completely online. He can see you over a video conference. You can reach out to him. We have shown his email ID. If you have an intention to use his services, all that it takes is reach to him on the email ID which is shown here. And I wish and hope that he takes up your case and guide you to create that particular wealth. Coming back to our discussions, we are in a zone of 2-minute noodles and instant coffee and scratch and win. That's the speed at which people want the result. Nobody has a patience to wait. And money is all about power of compounding, which is unlimited patience. So the world is going towards a scratch and win, and the money says you have to have unlimited patience. Is power of compounding is still relevant today, or is it an outdated concept? Why it's called that eighth wonder of the world? Is there a hope for anyone who is investing today still make money using the power of compounding?
I think a very valid question. In fact, in one of your starting comments, you were saying that why a lot of people don't become rich. I think the precise answer is if somebody does not understand power of compounding, then for him to become rich or staying wealthy is a very, very tough task. So it is very difficult for the human brain to understand power of compounding. So that's why somebody like Albert Einstein, who is one of the most brightest person ever in this world, actually coined this term called power of compounding, the eighth wonder of the world. Because the human brain is very, very, what you call, powerful, which we all know. But there are also some blind spots when it comes to the brain itself. Because if I ask somebody, what is 8 into 9? Then everyone can easily answer that 8 into 9 is 72 because we know that. But if I ask somebody what is 8 to the power of 9, then I think it takes actually a calculator to work out. And if I tell you the number, most of us can't even accept that number. Because if you put 8 to the power of 9, then the number actually is about 13 crore and odd. So it is very difficult for the human brain to understand how 8 to the power of 9 can become some number which is 13 crore, which is very, very far away. So human brain is trained to understand linear growth, but human brain is not trained to understand exponential growth. So this is power of compounding. So when it comes to power of compounding, there are three very important. So let me give you the formula which we all would have studied in the school 6th standard or the 7th standard. The power of compounding formula is nothing but P into 1 plus R by 100 the whole power N. So here there are three components. One is the P is the amount what you invest. Second is the R, which is the rate at which the money is growing. Third is to the power of N. N is the number of years. I think out of the three variables, the two is actually in the investor's control. One is the amount what you invest, the principal. I think that is definitely in my control. How much I earn, how much I save, it is definitely in my control. The third is the number of years I can wait. So can I wait for 10 years? Can I wait for 20 years? Can I wait for 30 years? That decision is entirely on me. The third aspect, which is the return, which is the rate of return. This is actually in no one's control, but the whole world keeps about asking what rate my money will grow. So look at how we are focusing. We are focusing on the thing which is not controllable, and we are actually not focusing on the thing which is controllable. If we can get two things right, one is the principle what we invest and the time what we give, I think 90% of the wealth creation is already done. Of course, if the rate also falls in your favor, especially in a country like India, as you rightly said, being at the right place at the right time is very important. As people who are investing in India, we need to understand India is actually going through a huge change, and the next coming decades are going to be very good. So which means if we understand we are in the right place at the right time and use this power of rate as well as the amount what we invest and the time what we give, I think it can be a very, very deadly combination for you to create wealth. So it is as simple as investing a very small amount of money, like the previous example which I gave. Be consistent and look for long term. And as you rightly said, we are actually moving into an extremely 10-minute delivery, 2-minute noodle and things like that. But this definitely does not go well with your investing or well with your wealth creation. So there are certain things, in fact, most good things in life take time, and investing and creating wealth is also a very good thing. And for that, you need to be patient enough to understand power of compounding and play the game in your favor.
The investors of today, particularly the young lots, they are brilliant. They are from IITs, and they have the maths in their favor. They have Excel sheets, and they think they can beat the market. They want to do complex things. They'll make calculation 15.5, 16.5, 20, timing the market, everything, and try to do the best thing. In your opinion, these complex maneuvers, are they the ones which will win, or it is the consistent thing somebody does on a daily basis without worrying about the result, which one will win? Or to say, it's a game of hare and tortoise. Hare is doing that complex, trying to jump quickly, move fast forward, let the other person go, then I'll do that circus and I'll move there. Or somebody like a tortoise, consistent, non-stop, disciplined, aimed at the destination. Who wins in the race?
No, very relevant example what you brought in, sir. I think there is no substitute for being consistent and being patient enough and being extremely disciplined. I think this is a requirement for every trade, whichever we are in. And especially when it comes to investing, this is a very, very important thing. As in Bhagavad Gita, it says, you need to focus on what you need to do and definitely not look at what is going to be the outcome. Similarly, in Tamil, it is nicely put, "Kadamiyai sei, palalai edirparkade." It generally means that you just keep doing what you're supposed to do and allow the outcome to take its own course. So investing just fits in that bucket. So doing very simple things actually make sure that your probability of creating wealth actually gets manifold. But this is very difficult for investors to understand, because sometimes by doing complex thing, I think I am a lot more intelligent, and actually I can try and make that 1, 2, 3, 4% more than a regular thing, which might work in certain cases, no doubt. But for you to be winning matches, it is not the 1-4 or the 1-6 which is important. It is being in the wicket and playing through the game. That's very important. But if I take complex decisions, there are chances where I will make slightly more returns. but there are many chances that you will actually end up losing capital. So if you lose your capital, it is very difficult for you to come back into the game. It's like losing a wicket in a cricket match. Once you are out, you're back to the pavilion and there is no chance for you to come back. So similarly, in investing also, capital is like your wicket. You should not lose. That's why Warren Buffett gave a very wonderful formula for all of us. There are two rules which he says we should follow. Rule number one is never lose your capital. And the rule number two, which is even more important, he says, do not forget rule number one. So the moment we understand, for somebody like Warren Buffett, the most richest person or the person who made all his money through investing, for him to comment such a thing, it needs that we need to definitely value his knowledge and the experience, because these are words coming out of experience, because he would have also tried many things, but eventually come into a state where he thinks being simple and allowing the money to grow and being disciplined are the only way in which we can make money.
Sundar, you're a young person. You are somebody who is full of wisdom. You have seen what works, what doesn't work. Compared to you, I'm an oldie, but I have seen a lot of things, and many a times it puzzles me. I have seen in my lifetime people saving money in a piggy bank, zero interest rate. They, out of the discipline, they tell their children, go and save this money, and they inculcate a habit of saving, accumulate that money at the end of the month, end of the year, for whatever the purpose they have kept, they'll use it. We have the great history of pygmy collections, where small amounts of money used to be collected from the merchants, traders, and an entire bank was built around that syndicate bank. We had the post office's daily collections used to be there. The rate of return, I'm telling this, when the FD rate was in excess of 12%, somebody who was paying for the pygmy, somebody who was paying for the post offices were getting way lower. See, the pygmy collection interest rate was just 4%, and the FD rate was 14%. And the post office rate was also very low compared to the prevailing FD rate. But people who joined that pygmy, people who used to pay for this regular collection of post office agents, never worried about the rate of return. They were very consistent. They paid that money. And even the case of, for that matter, for 50 long years, India had only LIC. There is nothing else. And everybody knows that it was not doing a great return compared to other options that were there. You didn't have a mutual fund at that point of time, but you had a fixed deposits. But even compared to fixed deposit, the plans were giving lesser. But people literally adored them, respected those plans, and become disciplined investors. And that money which was saved many a times, every time, helped them tide over the crisis. People will never argue at that point of time that it is 3%, 4%, or 5% return. I would always tell people, look, unless it was really helpful for people, there is no way this LIC or a post office or a pygmy would have survived for such a long period of time. We should not see the returns what people got at that time at 4%, 3%, or 5%. You should see it as 103%, 104%, 106%, because if the man had not gone and collected that money with the trader on that day, next day that money is not there. It was a forced collection. So they built their life. The forced saving helped them to reach some stage in life. Is this thing which is still relevant? Regular savings over rate of return. Today's argument is which gives me the highest return. The fintech company comes and says, by coming on my channel, you will save 0.5% than when you go to a mutual fund distributor. The arguments go towards that. Whereas in my time, it was about you had a much better rate of return which is available in the form of banks, but people latched onto these things which parted their money from them on a daily basis or on a monthly basis, and they were doing happily, and it created a happy outcome. Has this equation changed because of this new time, or is it still relevant? Regular investment against the high rate of return that people get. What has changed now?
I think some of the golden rules never change. So as you rightly said, being consistent, even irrespective of whether the amount being small or big, that does not change. But the options are definitely increased when it comes to investing. So some of the SIP which we keep speaking about and which we keep hearing about, here you are actually getting into a better product, better written product, but here also you need to be consistent and you need to be staying longer. As you rightly said, during those days, there were no such kind of products available which actually allowed you to compound your money like this or in this rate. So what has changed is the option to grow your money even better. So that has changed. But the basic principles does not change. As you rightly pointed out, being consistent and trying to be regular, I think that doesn't change. So that is the big change. So we need to go through the hard way. We need to stay longer for us to create that kind of wealth.
Sundar, when I heard you, I remember the Kannada poet D.V. Gundappa, very famous for his poetry, which touches your heart. He, at one point of time, says, "Hosa ಚಿಗುರು ಹಳೆಬೇರು ಕೂಡಿರಲು ಮರಸೊಬಗು ಹೊಸ ಯುಕ್ತಿ ಹಳೆ ತತ್ವ ದೊಡೆಗೂಡೆ ಧರ್ಮ." It's in Kannada. It means a tree looks very beautiful with the new sprouts. That means you can't be old all the time. You need great ideas, new ideas. But the new ideas can sprout only when the roots are deep enough, that your value system is deep enough, and that is where it gets the strength. Likewise, ಹೊಸ ಯುಕ್ತಿ ಹಳೆ ತತ್ವ, that means you always require a new idea, new innovations, but the principles that hold these new ideas should be strong enough. Only when you have this combination, then it works. The message for the audience is the old system still works. You need to be saving at regular intervals of time. Your regularity is more important than the rate of return it generates. If you're always worried about what is the rate of return I'm going to get, you forget to save. So the old principle of saving regularly is the one which in true sense creates wealth and makes you have that money that you deserve. And that is where it creates financial freedom. Rate of return will always come. In one of the videos that I have done on my Friday episodes, we said, it's the process which is important. It's not the return. Return is always a byproduct of the process. Get your process right. One of the processes, save regularly. Increase your saving. Don't touch it. Be disciplined. Think that it is for a long term. It is not for 1 year, 2 years. Don't become itchy to take out that money the moment you see a few rupees that the return it goes. You have to leave it there. That is where the money is to be made. Sundar, thank you very much for these beautiful ideas. You have enriched my audience. You have taken them back to the roots and told them the old system still works. Thank you very much for your time. I remain in gratitude to you for your kindness to come on this channel and share your 21 years of experience with my audience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful opportunity. Hope if few of us, all these learnings, if few of them actually can inculcate and they become better and wealthy, I think we will be very happy with this event. Thank you so much.
Dear viewers, hope the conversation I had with Sundar enriched you with few ideas, gave you a reinforcement that whatever you're doing as a consistent investor is in your best interest. If it helped you to understand the complex landscape of money making or wealth building, please do give me a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed for the channel, please do hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon. Do not forget to share these videos with your near and dear ones, friends and relatives, and on all the social media on which you are connected with. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I shall be back with you next Tuesday with yet another expert, with yet another topic. Till then, stay safe. Jai Hind.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.